When stars align in anime, it is something really special, and it's especially even more special. How many times can we say that? If it aligns not only for the characters and what we're watching, but then as the viewer as well. If you can be completely absorbed in something when stars are aligning for these two characters, what I mean by stars aligning is what I mean like these two things coming together in an anime to form something new. It's really special to watch, and as a viewer you can't help but be completely absorbed in it. Now, as we begin to jump into a lot of episode ones when we are entering a brand new season, the one thing that I always praise and am very critical of is episode number 1, because that episode is your intro. It is your immediate immersion into the world that creators, directors, studios are trying to present to you. And if they fudge up episode 1, or if it doesn't completely grab you, then you're kind of off put by the fact that you're like, do I watch episode 2? Do I just skip this anime completely? Do I just kind of let it stack up and go back to it later? And when you do all of those things, right, you are not giving the studio, the anime attention, you're not giving them views. So therefore, how an anime performs is not great. I've always hated that thing of, oh, just watch 12 episodes, just watch 8 of the 12 episodes, just watch 6 episodes, and then the anime gets good. If it's good, it will be good from episode number 1, period, the end. So if they're going to save something for episode 8, it's like, don't give me what you need in episode 1 to grab my attention. And the best anime do that. It's not some secret sauce. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's what you're supposed to do. Now, the reason I went on that rant at the beginning of my first review of this episode is My Dress Up Darling really, really did that. Like, I am excited to come and watch the next episode of My Dress Up Darling. The thing that it did really well, it introduced our main character, Gojo. Jujutsu Kaisen reference. Immediately love him. But it introduced our main character, Gojo, and it showed us him as a boy falling in love with a very unique hobby. And the reason he fell in love with it is because his family owns the shop that creates these dolls, these Hina dolls. So at a young age, he was captivated and encapsulated by these Hina dolls, and he thought that they were gorgeous and beautiful, and he wanted to create them. He didn't just want to follow in his grandfather's footsteps, he wanted to follow in his footsteps because he truly fell in love with the thing that his grandpa was creating. And right before we kind of flash forward in time to kind of like present day, what the anime did really well is it showed us that he had somebody in his life. And now immediately I thought like, oh, it looked like his little sister, but it seems that he had a friend, which was a female, which was a girl. And that girl immediately kind of cursed him because she was like, you're weird. Why are you into this thing? So she immediately didn't say, this guy's my friend. I'm going to accept his hobby and just be friends with him and just support him for doing whatever. Instead, she's called him weird, and how could he like this weird stuff? And she bullied him down, right? She punched down on him for this thing that he just seemingly began to have an interest in. So that's one thing to completely remember. So then we flash forward in time, and he's having a conversation with his grandfather, and his grandfather's like, yo, do you have any friends? And because he's been so self-absorbed through elementary school and middle school of this project, this hobby that he has, he's been so self-absorbed in it, wanting to get better, wanting to hone his skills, that he just hasn't had any social experiences. And the lack of social experiences means he has no friends. And the other piece of him lacking friends is because he only has one interest. He has tunnel vision on this interest, so he doesn't partake in other things that normal kids of his age do. He doesn't go to the movies. Homeboy doesn't go out, doesn't go shopping, don't go clubs. He don't go to the arcade. Doesn't watch anime. So because he's had tunnel vision, he has nothing to talk about with these kids. He doesn't participate in clubs or activities. So I mean, he's literally go to school. My life is absorbed with this Hina dolls, but he's happy for that. So he doesn't have any friends at all. So when the next main character, Kasugawa, I think her name is, when she gets introduced to him, or when the character gets introduced to us, it's from that same angle of, well, she's the hottest girl in school. He has no interest, but then he notices that she does have an interest in anime, and he realizes still that even though she has this also unique interest and she's accepted for it, he still feels like their worlds are divided. So when those worlds collide, when she finally runs into him, and I'm skipping a lot of stuff. You guys don't need to recap. You saw it already. But when she runs into him in the sewing room and her eyes light up, she's basically like hot breath breathing when she sees that he's able to sew and he has these skills. Those worlds finally collide, and what breaks down his barriers, which I was extremely, extremely happy to see for him, because prior to that he was stuttering. He's like, he wasn't able to speak clearly because of all those socialistic skills that he lacks. But when she began to put something in front of him that he's familiar with, right? Sewing, seams, lining, the way that she had done it, the lack of seams and certain things that she didn't do right when making her cosplay outfit. He immediately does a 360, and he's not worried about talking to her. He's talking about something in front of her, if that makes sense. And he goes in on her. He's like, yo, you didn't do this, this is effed up, you don't look nothing like what you're trying to do, blah, 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 blah. And then he has a point to where he realizes, like, oh, shit. Because he was looking at her, she's like, ah! She's like, oh, I know, I suck. And, she tells him not to worry about it. But, that's a moment where, because of his interest being able to come out, and somebody finally didn't make fun of him for having that interest, because even when she saw his 𝐼𝐶 doll, she didn't make fun of it. She's like, oh, that's beautiful. Then their relationship really begins when she asks him to work on her cosplay stuff for him. And because she was so passionate and sincere, he kind of felt that same feeling, or at least as a viewer, I feel like he had that feeling of the same passion that he has for his 𝐼𝐶 dolls. And he finally agreed to help her. All of this that I'm explaining, and I cut a lot out, is episode 1. That's awesome. I know who 𝐒𝐻𝐸 is. I know who Kasugawa is. I know her character archetype, and I know the opposite side of that and what she brings. We have 𝐒𝐻𝐸. We know what his character's about. We know where his interests align. And we can kind of guess where the next episodes are going to go, right? They're going to begin hanging out together. She's going to have some judgmental friends. She's strong-headed. She's very strong-willed. She will tell him to shut the F up. The girl that he liked at some point, or maybe that was just his friend, she's going to come back into the mix because she's going to see homeboy hanging out with the prettiest girl in the effing school, right? So there's going to be some really cool things that happen. And on top of everything else, it was hella funny. I laughed. Genuinely. It was so good. And it's cute, and it's romantic, and we're going to be able to see characters grow. God damn. What else do we want for episode number 1, right? This was so good. So good. So My Dress Up Darling might be one of the hidden gems of the season. If you liked it, tell other people to watch it. I don't think episode 2 will disappoint. I think we'll find out together next week. I think this is going to be one of those hidden gems of the season, or it might be one of those ones that break out from the hidden gem field, and it might be something that people give a chance and a lot of people begin to talk about, which I hope happens, because I feel that strongly. Episode 1. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, guys. Thank you guys for joining me for the first of many winter anime here on the channel. Make sure you guys drop a sub. Make sure you guys drop a like before we leave. And if you want to see what other winter anime we're covering, pop the video up over there. All right, my friends. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.